Welcome to the ERwin Data Modeler R8 DB2 for LUW Editors video. This video provides an overview of the DB2 for LUW object editors and explains how you can use some of the editors. ERwin Data Modeler R8 includes a total of 40 editors for various DB2 for LUW objects. You can define objects such as buffer pools, database partition groups, database roles, files, global variables, modules, permissions, synonyms, table spaces, and event monitors for a selected model. Apart from these objects, you can define objects to manage a federated database, a workload, and security. This video describes how you can manage a federated database, add a workload, and manage security. In R8, you manage security for a DB2 LUW database using the security policies, security labels, and security label component objects. To access these objects, from the Model menu, click Target, DB2 for LUW, Security, and the relevant object to open its editor. In this demonstration, we will see how to create a security policy and include security labels and security label components. First, let us create a security label component. On the Model menu, click Target, DB2 for LUW, Security, and Security Label Component. The DB2 for LUW Security Label Component Editor opens. Click New, and a new Security Label component appears with the default name. Change the default name. Select an element type from the three options: Array, Set, or Tree. Click New on the Security Elements tab. A new security element appears with the default name. Change the default name. Click New again to add another security element. Repeat the process until you have added all of the required security elements. Click Close. Next, let us create a security policy. Before creating a security policy, ensure that you have already created security label components. On the Model menu, click Target, DB2 for LUW, Security, and Security Policy. The DB2 for LUW Security Policy Editor opens. Click New, and a new security policy appears with the default name. Change the default name. Go to the Security Label Components tab. Select the security label components that you want to be part of the security label. Click the Security Label Components Editor icon. The DB2 for LUW Security Label Component Editor opens. Review the security elements for the security label components you have selected. Click Close and close the DB2 for LUW Security Label Component Editor. Click Close and close the DB2 for LUW Security Policy Editor. Now, let's create a security label and add security elements to it. Before creating a security label, ensure that you have already created a security policy. On the Model menu, click Target, DB2 for LUW, Security, and Security Label. The DB2 for LUW Security Label Editor opens. Click New, and a new security label appears with the default name. Change the default name. Select the security policy that you want to attach with the security label. Go to the Security Label Elements tab and click New. A new security label element appears with the default name. Change the default name. Select a security label component. Repeat this process until you have finished adding all of the security label elements. Click the DB2 for LUW Security Label Element Editor icon. The DB2 for LUW Security Label Element Editor opens. Select the security elements that you want to include in the security label. Click Close and close the DB2 for LUW Security Label Element Editor. In R8, you manage a DB2 LUW federated database using the wrapper, server, and nickname objects. From the Model menu, click Target, DB2 for LUW, Federated, and the relevant object to open its editor. In this demonstration, we will see how to create a wrapper, a server, and a nickname. First, let's create a wrapper. On the Model menu, click Target, DB2 for LUW, Federated, Wrapper. The DB2 for LUW Wrapper Editor opens. Click New, and a new wrapper appears with a default name. Change the default name. Select the type of the wrapper, relational or non-relational. Go to the Options tab and click New. A new wrapper option appears with a default name. Change the default name. Enter a value for the option. Repeat this process until you have finished adding all of the options. Click Close. Next, let's define a server. Before defining a server, ensure that you have already created a wrapper for that server. On the Model menu, click Target, DB2 for LUW, Federated, Server. The DB2 for LUW Server Editor opens. Click New, and a new server appears with a default name. Change the name of the server. Enter the server type. Go to the General tab. Enter the server version. Select the wrapper that you have created for the server. Select the user ID of the user who will use the server. Click Close and close the DB2 for LUW Server Editor. Next, let us create a nickname. Before creating a nickname, ensure that you have defined the server on which the nickname will be present. You create a nickname using the DB2 for LUW Table Editor. On the Model menu, click Tables. The DB2 for LUW Table Editor opens. Click New, and a new table appears with a default name. Change the default name. Select the schema that you want to attach to the table. Select Nickname in the DB2 LUW Type column. Select the nickname type, relational or non-relational. Click Close and close the DB2 for LUW Table Editor. In R8, you manage a DB2 LUW workload using the Service class, Work Action Set, Work Class Set, and Workload objects. First, let's create a Service class. On the Model menu, click Target, DB2 for LUW, Workload, Service Classes. The DB2 for LUW Service Class Editor opens. Click New, and a new service class appears with a default name. Change the default name. Select True in the Enabled column. On the Subservices Classes tab, add subservices if required, then click Close. Next, let's create a work class set and add work classes to it. On the Model menu, click Target, DB2 for LUW, Workload, Work Class Sets. The DB2 for LUW Work Class Set editor opens. Click New, and a new work class set appears with a default name. Change the default name. Go to the Work Classes tab and click New. A new work class appears with a default name. Change the default text. Select the type of work class in the Type column. More work classes if required, then click Close. Next, let us create a work action set and add work actions to it. Before creating a work action set, ensure that you have created the required service class and work class set. On the Model menu, click Target, DB2 for LUW, Workload, Work Action Sets. DB2 for LUW Work Action Set Editor opens. Click New, and a new work action set appears with a default name. Default name. Select the work action type in the Type column. Select the work class set with which to associate the work action set. Select True in the Enabled column. Go to the General tab and click New. A new work action appears with a default name. Change the default name. Select the work class with which to associate the work action. Select the action type that you want to assign the work action. Select True in the Enabled column. Add more work actions if required, then click Close. Create a workload. Before creating a workload, ensure that you have created the required service class. On the Model menu, click Target, DB2 for LUW, Workload, Workloads. The DB2 for LUW Workload Editor opens. Click New, and a new workload appears with a default name. Change the default name. Select True in the Enabled column. Select True in the Is Database Access Allowed column. Select the service class with which to associate the workload. Go to the Connection Attributes tab. Select the required connection attributes and add values for them. For this demonstration, we will add values for the application name, system user, session user group, and session user role attributes. First, we'll add values to the application name connection attribute. Next, we'll add values to the system user connection attribute. Next, we'll add values to the Session User Group Connection attribute. Finally, we'll add values to the System User Role Connection attribute. Click Close.